Good afternoon. As Roger said, we appreciate everybody being able to join us for the Stevens Premier webinar. Just so you know, we are recording these and we will be posting them on Stevens TV, but we'll also be recapping all the questions from the first webinar and the second one and then sending those out together with the PowerPoint so you can use it as a training tool. With that being said, I have Tammy and Bonnie in here, and we look forward to the questions. If you guys have any, please feel free to type them in the questions box, and we will also be going over them as we go through the presentation. So with that being said, Roger, I will turn it over to you.
All right, thanks, Katie. And again, I just want to underscore a lot of folks have worked hard to put together the Stevens Premier program, and no one less than the Tammy, who's worked miracles on the IT side, and Bonnie, who has made sure we didn't stray too far off the legal path and as well as the accounting path in terms of getting our tariff and things ready. But folks, before we start, this week started off with a shock and a surprise to all of us at Stevens, starting with the leadership team. I'm sure you're aware by now that Jim Welsh has announced he is retiring effective the middle of May. Got to say thank you. Jim was with us about 7.5 years, certainly had a significant impact on the Stevens companies. We've all spent a lot of time getting to know Jim. If you didn't catch the notice, he's had some health challenges. He believes that by retiring and slowing his life down, he's going to have many, many good years ahead of him. But the hard work of running the operations department of Evanline was something he needed to step away from. So I just, on behalf of all of Stevens, we want to thank Jim. He's going to help a little bit with some driver recruiting until we get into June. But we definitely want you to know that we've got a strong team that's there to support you. Excuse me. Between Scott, John, and Greg, who runs our safety and compliance, I added up, we have 73 years of experience in the Stevens system. So we have great confidence in the team that is there to service you. If you're not super familiar with Scott or John, Scott has the West and the South. It's regions 1, 2, 4, and 6. John is the East and the Midwest, which is regions 3, 5, 7, and 8. They both can help you if one's not available. Don't be bashful. These folks are committed to keeping our service levels up, to serving your needs and keeping our drivers going. So thank you guys for stepping up. They've it's been a surprise for them as well. This caught us all off guard yesterday, or Monday. So thank you, Scott. Thank you, John. Folks, don't be bashful. If you don't know them well, they're there to serve you and make sure that we've got a great peak season together. Well, folks, here we go. We're going to be talking about Stevens Premier. As you can see in the logo up there, we're calling this America's Premier Small Move Program. We've gone through the material with a few test groups. I see some of the people signed up have heard a version A, B, C, or D of this as we've discussed this with a number of groups. So thank you all who have provided input, thrown some rocks at some of the holes we had. This is a new program, folks. We're going to be inventing this as we go. We believe we've covered the key issues, but please be patient with us. We're all on the same team. We're going to try and be as successful as possible rolling this out this summer. So today we've got a number of things we're going to go through. Last time it took us over 50 minutes, so there's a fair amount of material. As Katie mentioned, you'll be able to share this out on video as well as some of the questions. There will also be, by Monday, we'll have available for you a downloadable version of the copy and the service manual to use in training your teams. But we're going to go through the big picture. We're going to talk about revenue because that's what drives everything, is our ability to do it. We're going to talk a lot about processes. I've been involved in programs a number of times over the years, whether it's loading a shuttle trailer or even some rail experiments and containers. Guys, this only works if we all are committed to providing a quality service to our customer. That means the right people with the right materials doing the right things every day. So we're going to spend a fair amount of time on the process. Then we're going to talk about how do we position this, how do we sell it, and finally, what does it look like when we get into the Stevens system to work with it. So with no further ado, we'll go forward. Guys, there's a number of reasons to be getting into containerization. not the least of which is we don't have enough trucks as an industry. The latest data I've seen shows that this year, 2016, overall transportation is short 25,000 drivers. That's only going to grow. Household goods, we're impacted by that just as everybody else who operates vehicles. If we can pull 100 or 200 or 400 shipments out of our vans and put them in a containerized environment, that's certainly going to open up the door for more capacity for our other shipments within our interstate van operators' trucks. Addition to that, we also think we can do a better job for our customers. As we all know, with small shipments, we're at the risk of a negative at the start of our presentation. We're not very good at them. Our customers have high expectations. Saturday, I wanted to get something ordered. It's the first time I've done it. I ordered from Amazon at 11:30 in the morning, and at 6:30 in the evening, I had 3 items in a box delivered on my front porch. That same-day service, you can argue, has nothing to do with household goods, but in the mind of our customers, it has everything to do with it. People's expectations today are that I don't have to wait for anything. Read online reviews sometimes where people say they downgraded a coffee shop because it took 3 minutes to get a cup of coffee. People have high expectations of all service providers, including ourselves. The small shipments have always been the ones we tried to work around. We've all got that story of trying to look at the chart and saying, gee, we're going to have a 4-week delivery spread. Really doesn't serve our customers the way they want to be served. So we decided to come up with a way to resolve these in an environment that is profitable for us. Because the fact of the matter is it's not cheap to move, even with our minimums and low discounts. It's not cheap. We just want to get a whole lot better at it and provide a quality, superior service to our customers. Again, among our customer benefits, this program offers day certain pickup. That's certainly something every customer wants. We can schedule delivery dates. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about faster transit times. If you're following process, it's pretty much 7 to 14 days, 10 to 14 days anywhere in the country. That's certainly faster than a lot of our other service capabilities. Destination storage advantages, we're going to give up to 2 weeks free at destination that they can schedule around their time. As someone who is getting prepared to move, I think my load date is on May 24th. I can appreciate the flexibility at the other end of being able to leave things there until you've got access to your new residence. If you operate this in the ideal fashion, there's going to be reduced handling of their possessions, and the containers are secured all the way through the delivery. In a perfect scenario, the item gets wrapped in their home, gets placed in the container is sealed, and the seal doesn't get broken until they get delivered out. And we'll talk more through the details of that as we go through. Again, this is not a product for the guy who had 2 rooms of furniture he was thinking of getting rid of, and he decided to ship them to his son-in-law 5 states over. This is a high-quality service. It is not going to be an inexpensive service. Our target customer is a high-net-worth individual who just doesn't own a lot of stuff. There's a whole move towards minimalism. I don't know if you see on HGTV, they have programs about minimalist homes and small, tiny houses, and people just not possessing a lot of stuff. This is a perfect solution for that. The high-rise. We think of high-rise, and you think of Chicago downtown, you think of Manhattan, but increasingly as I travel the country, virtually every city has added more and more high-rise as the cities start having greater density. And again, these are units that have 900 square feet, 1,100 square feet. They don't necessarily own 5,000 or 6,000 pounds. It's a much smaller collection. Millennials, again, possessions, not to generalize, but a little bit, there are more and more city dwellers. There's a whole generation of folks that really like living in the center of the city, don't necessarily want to own a vehicle, and don't really want to own a lot of stuff. Well, those are folks that this is a great solution for. In the short version, here's how it's going to work. You as the booker, you're going to establish what needs to be done. You're going to price it. You're going to put in enough money to give these folks quality service at your end, and you're going to sell the order. The sidecar to that is the Move Center is going to be offering this as well. We've had some great reception from national accounts on this. Joe Bissner, Lisa Bronick were just in with a major relocation management company yesterday. We'll definitely be doing some work with them this summer. It was rolled out on a test basis to an account last summer. That account previously had given us 10 moves a year. After presenting this solution in its alpha or startup format or test phase, they gave us not only 15 small moves last year, but they gave us a total of 75 interstate moves. They liked the fact that we offered something innovative that helped them with a requirement they had, and as a result, we earned a whole bunch more business that we weren't seeing before. So you will be hearing from the Move Center. In those cases, they'll be working with you as the origin agent on what your service revenues need to be, so don't be surprised by that. So once the order's been priced, it's been sold, the booker, your team is going to be preparing the shipment. Whenever possible, we want to see this happen at residence. We understand there are some of our agents that do not have straight trucks tall enough to accommodate a lift van. So in those cases, we understand there's going to be some additional challenges. The booker then uploads the information into the Stevens system, and we'll go through what that means detailed. And then the coordinator, we have a premier coordinator, somebody who 2 weeks ago didn't have this title, and now she does. You'll be getting to know her. We'll be showing you her in just a little bit, but she's going to arrange the interstate transportation, and then the delivery agent is going to arrange delivery. It's a containerized program, not unlike what we've done for the Department of Defense customers in the past, and not unlike we've done when a shipment sat in your dock too long and we said, oh my goodness, we better get this thing moving. The difference is we're doing this in a proactive, organized fashion that's going to turn this into turn a challenging situation into a win. Okay, as far as limitations, this isn't going to go just anywhere. We don't really have a solution for delivering this to the top of the Grand Tetons or the bottom of the Grand Canyon. We're focused on within 30 miles of where there is a Class 1, Class 2, or Class 3 Stevens agent. If you're not familiar with those, Class 1 and 2 are all the folks on this phone call. Class 3 are agents that may represent another carrier, but we have a contractual relationship with them to service military and other business. So they are aware of Stevens, and so we can go ahead and price it in those areas. If it's outside of those areas, you want to deliver it to some place where we don't have an agent available, and the system will show you. We'll get to that later. Then you're going to have to reach out to our coordinator and see if she has some solutions to help you to offer the service. We expect that virtually anywhere that there's a population of any density, we should be able to do it. We just can't offer an automated process other than where we know we've got our agents. Excuse me. This is focused on 3 container shipments and below. One of the things about the freight business, they like this business, but not too much. And what happens is we get very good pricing with 1 container, 2 containers, 3 containers. When we start getting into 4 and 5, sounds odd to us, but the price goes up significantly. The rate goes up. So if you have something that's larger than 3 containers, I would recommend either setting up multiple shipments that, hey, I'm going to do a 2 container and a 2 container, or a 1 and a 3, or contact the coordinator and see if she can arrange something else. But they really don't want to see larger shipments, and they've set up our pricing to where it really encourages us to ship up to 3 containers. The last thing is maximum weight per container. Again, a core crate, you'll see those in a minute. They're not structurally sound above 1,000 pounds. And a wooden lift van, this isn't intended to move stock rooms full of nuts and bolts. This is for household goods. So these are some maximums. We're looking to ensure we don't put too much in the containers. And specifically to go on from there, this will be a surprise to some of us. We think in terms of storage vaults. These containers are much smaller than a storage vault. This is industry-wide. This is based on thousands of containers from a variety of carriers of van lines. 875 pounds is typically what you're getting in a single container shipment. If you have 2, 1550, 3, 2325. If you're good with math, you probably noticed already that the more containers, the lower the average weight in each container. So you need to be realistic about what your capabilities are to get in the containers to make sure we sell this to a customer and they have a great experience. Let's talk about revenue a little bit. We wanted to make sure that these folks get a great experience, so you as the booker are in charge of what your revenue is going to be on an outbound shipment. you have tried SurePrice, you're familiar with the concept of the agent management fee. In your case, that's going to include two things. It's going to include your origin service revenue. That needs to include enough money to pay for containers. Again, if you have a bunch of old lift vans there and they can be cleaned up and refurbed, maybe you want to build in a lesser amount. You may have to buy containers. You have to figure that in to your AMF. We'll talk about different containers in a few minutes. Also, your booking revenue. If you aren't making something for selling it, what's the point, right? And then on inbound shipments, when those are coming to your warehouse, you will be paid the same as if you were delivering out a storage in transit shipment, rated at a 50% discount on the SVLM1. That'll also include your item 135 if that applies in your marketplace. It was our choice to do the SIT delivery because we felt like this would be the best possible way of compensating you. Got something beeping in the background. Hopefully you guys aren't hearing that. Storage revenue. People are going to be getting 2 weeks of storage at no charge at destination. Again, you're the OA. If you want to store it at origin, you can build that into your AMF. If it lasts beyond 2 weeks, then they will be able to purchase that storage for $60 per container per month or fraction. That means that if it's there for 34 days, that's 2 months. If it's there for 28 days, that's 1 month. If it's there for 10 days beyond the 14, that's a month. So that's the rate. It's a per container. We wanted to make it very simple, and that'll be on the estimate form as well, on the back form of additional services. Valuation follows the SVLM1 tariff rules. And if you're familiar with the way it works, you know that there's a 6,000, 10,000, 15,000 rates. That's the minimum valuation based on the number of containers. They can declare as much as they choose to. Deductible options will apply. If you have a real estate customer, please track that it is a Keller Williams, that there is not a separate tariff, and they do not get the special valuation. So you'll have to keep in mind as you book those, if you want to do this for your Keller or your RE/MAX, that the valuation will follow SVLM1, not SVLRE. Let's talk about servicing the order, because that's where it really comes together. These are the 2 containers that we are anticipating and allowing for Stevens Premier. First is a traditional lift van, as you see on the left side. The lift van does not need to be weather sealed as it does for an interstate move, but it does need to be structurally secure and in good condition. On the right, you see the core crate. This is a product from Victory Packaging. Mike Sheridan introduced me to this a couple of years ago. It's a very heavy-duty container, and it is available. Jim Welsh negotiated a really good price with Victory. I believe it's right around $150 a piece. You buy 5 of them, and they're available through Victory. If you aren't seeing that kind of a price, let us know, and we'll make arrangements for you to get the benefit of the Victory Packaging pricing. So these are the 2 containers that are included within the Stevens Premier program. Materials matter incredibly so. The next is, what are we using to prepare the material? Guys, you all get that list of packing material from your supplier, and there are some really inexpensive paper pads, or brown paper as some of us like to call them. That is not what is going to work for this program. You may be able to use the real light duty paper pads for wrapping some of the simple pictures, but for this program, for anything with containerized furniture, you really need to be using a quality product. I call them an international paper pad. It's one that has at least 4 plies, usually have at least one of the plies has chip in it. These are things that are going to hold up far better, and even though they cost more each, it generally doesn't cost you much more, because if your crews are good, they're going to be going through so many of the lightweight pads that you're much better off buying the quality pads for your containers. We estimate you're going to need at least 25 per container. You can use this for building out your pricing. Banding, we don't want to use steel in the core crate. It's going to destroy it. It's nylon there. Lay down wardrobes, you can do what you want, but in terms of trying to get some weight into these containers, if you start putting some stand-up wardrobes, you're going to lose all your volume pretty quickly. So we highly recommend using lay-down wardrobes. Although you might get to see in an upcoming picture, I was pointed out to me last week, one of our photos that we have actually has some stand-up wardrobes. So this is a practical matter that you really want to think about using the lay-down wardrobes to where you can get the best deal for your customer. Placards, and of course security seals, those are available from the Stevens shop. They look just like that. Again, this goes into a little more detail. This will be the guts of a manual that will be available to you come Monday. It goes through the same information. One thing is added is cardboard or corrugated. Guys, when you have all that extra corrugated, don't just recycle it. Hang on to it. This is a perfect use for it. If you've got 2 pieces of furniture in addition to the paper pads, if you're an international servicing agent, I'm sure you know about this, put some extra corrugated in there. It gives some extra structural integrity to your shipment, and it protects things in a far better way. Man, I got all kinds of sounds going at this end. Required materials, again, we go through the standard inventory process, stickers, high-value inventories. I guess you really like stickers. I put it in there twice. The next step is something that is brand new to us, but this is the beginning, not the end of the process. Guys, it's been taught to me ever since I've been a small person that, okay, I was never small, a young person, that you have to inspect what you expect. We are going to be introducing photo verification of the service provided under this program. You'll see that this is a non-negotiable, that these pictures need to be taken of the container as it's being loaded and then after it's been sealed. We are not going to dispatch a freight truck until we have photographs that verify the container has been properly loaded. Agency owners, I would encourage you to make this part of your daily practice. It's a great thing to consider doing with crews, of getting a picture of even a local move before they close the doors at origin. Do you know what your loads look like? You think you do, but this is a way to verify. I would believe that everything that hits your warehouse dock, hopefully your warehouseman is using photography as well, whether it's a crate of household goods from overseas or a UPS box. When you're taking those exceptions, hopefully you're implementing the use of whether it's a digital camera or you're actually using a phone, whatever way it is, highly suggest it. That's going to be key to this program, and there will be financial incentive to you, as you'll see in a few minutes. Guys, this is going to grow over time, the use of photography to ensure that we're providing the right service. This is our first time at Stevens, and we're very excited about it. Paper pads, and nothing shows but paper pads and cartons. Again, these are just some illustrations. Now, if you try sending in your pictures of how well you've loaded the containers and they all show a guy with red X-shaped suspenders, we might get a little suspicious there. But in all seriousness, just like when you open a trailer or a storage vault, you should see nothing but quilted pads and corrugated cartons. The same thing here. When you look at these containers, all you should see is paper pads and cartons and occasionally some dunnage or some paper to keep things secured within the container. We shouldn't see anything else. We're looking to see a securely loaded shipment. It was asked at the Vegas conference if they should take additional photos, perhaps one of each tier. That's a great idea. We're not requiring that at this time. But if I'm an owner, I think that's a great idea. It takes no time to snap that picture to where I, as an owner, can coach my team on how to load a container best by seeing how well the tiers came together as they loaded each one of the containers. Okay, now this is the key. The top of the page says eliminate your liability. I don't believe Stevens Van Lines has ever said this before, but you can load these containers and have zero loading liability if you follow the below steps. Now in red you see again we're not going to schedule a truck without the photos. Next line says they have to be clear photos of each container, both opened and sealed. If you upload the photos, the containers are clearly loaded properly, and we can see, I mean, these have to be clear photos. Your paperwork secured in container 1, you're loading these at residence, you will have zero liability for any damage as the loader of that container. I'll say that again. If you follow those steps, you're at residence loading it, and the containers are loaded properly, it's documented photographically, you can protect your agency from any liability. Now, if you don't have a tall enough truck or you can't rent a tall enough truck and you have to bring this back to your warehouse, we still are going to require that we have the photographs to get the shipment serviced, but we cannot we can't exonerate your agency 100% because you're adding extra steps in there where there is risk. So if you're able to load at residence, you can have zero liability, and the same at destination. We really want to see these delivered wherever possible and unloaded and unsealed at destination. The more we can do that, we think there's more value to the product. The customer loves the ability to see the container sealed and to see it unsealed. So if you're able to do that, then you have those photographs, you upload the photograph of the sealed container and then what the container looks like as you open it for each container. That, again, can prevent you from having any liability at delivery. Now, that doesn't change, your packing liability is the same as ever. All the rules in terms of how we need to proceed as a carrier, as agents for the carrier, they all are there, but these are two things you can do to where you have zero liability. And the reason is we believe that if everyone's work is being inspected and shared, we're going to be doing quality work, and that's going to make the program work coast to coast in every city. Here's a very important person. Brittany Wenzel, she works in central operations. She's worked with the Crate and Freight program. She gets to be the point of contact. That does not mean she is the expert and the guru on everything's container and Premier. That means she's the person whose job it is to compile your request, your needs, go to the team, and get you the best possible answer. You can see her information's up there, as well as John and Scott. Please understand this is a new program. The process is not. We've all done containers our whole careers, but this program is a little different. So if she doesn't know every answer off the top of her head, understand that her job is to find out the answer and get back to you. So please be supportive of Brittany. This is a new task she's taken on, and we're very grateful that she's bringing her considerable talents to what we're going to accomplish this summer. Okay, placarding the lip fan, I think I can skip over that. Most of us can figure that part out. On the bill of lading, one thing that's key, this had a number of questions on the first webinar, so I'll try and get this clear. Everything about Stevens Premier, it tells the customer that we are moving X number of containers of your possessions. There is no discussion of weight with the customer. Because of that, we don't need a net weight of containers. We don't even need to know the weight of each container on a multi-ship container shipment. All we need to know is we've got 2 wooden lift fans, total weight 2,416 pounds, or 3 cork rates, total weight of 3,419. We don't need a weight per container. We don't need a tear in a net. We just need to know the actual weight of the container. So if you have a certified warehouse scale, that's great. You can weigh those and get that to us. Otherwise, you have to get your lightweight, put the containers on the truck, and then head out to load the shipment from the customer. Items not to be shipped. Not a lot of new territory here. Ammunition, gas, oil, corrosives. However, there are some things on here you'll see that they just don't really fit. And so there's certain things we're not going to be taking. Hoverboards, as we all know, that's a newer one. If it doesn't fit in a lift van, ladies and gentlemen, I know this is a crazy thought. Let's make sure our customer doesn't expect it to go. And that can be a lot of things. That can be a rug that is 10 by 12. You can't roll up a 10 by 12 rug and move it safely inside a lift van. That would have to be in a rug box, and if that's you want that to ship, you're going to have to get with Brittany, and she can help you coordinate that. But this program is based on things that fit within the confines of a container, and we'll go through that in more detail as we get to the part about talking to our customers. There's more detail here. I'm not going to walk through all of it. I'm going to hit a few high points. One is, if you do internationally, you know about this, but if not, you need to remember to tell your folks when they go out to wrap the items and start putting them in the container, it is absolutely critical that they put the inventory number on the outside of the paper pad. So when they wrap up chair that's green 23, somewhere on that paper pad they need to write green 23 to facilitate the customer having an orderly sign-off of the inventories at destination. The next one is a big deal. Again, this is kind of new. It shouldn't be, but it is. Anything that you disassemble, do the customer a favor, do the destination agent a favor. Take a picture of the piece before you disassemble it. Take a picture of it partially disassembled. Take a picture of the pieces. Use a parts bag. Gather it together. Let's give everyone the best shot of providing great service to the customer. I'm sure you, like me, if you have worked in the field, have walked into a residence and had to figure out what to do with a pile of unmarked, unnamed boards. I've been on projects that lasted days like that. Don't do that to each other. Let's be a team, let's work together, and let's ensure that there's every possibility that our destination agent will be able to assemble what we took apart. Other things on here, I think everything else is on here that we've already talked about. All the paperwork you're going to put inside of container number 1. You're going to upload you need to upload paperwork. Let's see. And you'll be communicating all the information to this Stevens Premier Coordinator. Destination agent, excuse me. All the services that we expect have to reassemble things. They should be able to use photos. You want to unwrap furniture in the residence. Again, the nice thing about being the destination agent is, in addition to the revenue, you get a container that hopefully you can reuse for a customer in the future. So that's a positive way. Also, when you deliver out, we request that you download the inventories, and we request that you bring a writer with you, that if for some reason the original paperwork cannot be located in the container, that your customer has a way of checking off on a print of the PDF of the inventories, and they've got a writer to make any notations on it. Selling Premier. How do we position this to customers? Well, where do you find them? The first place I always talk about is realtor partners. Our realtors always seem to have great opportunities to provide us moves that are challenging to service. And I know I've had a number of salespeople tell me that, yeah, the realtor called and it's 1,500 pounds and they want to get it to their second home in Florida. This is a great solution. Again, we talked about the high-end condos and downtown apartments. I live in Arizona. Over in our area here in the desert where there's nothing but room, there is a huge and a growing number of mid-rise and high-rise residences, and there's moving companies that make a living by being the designated mover in those places. How cool would it be to have this product that you can go in there and tell them that, hey, I've got this program for your people moving long distance, either in or out. You still got our great crews, and we're going to ensure that they have a great experience door to door. And when you position the benefits, as you can see on the left, there's a flyer that will be available on the Stevens Shop Monday. We've plugged in some information from our agent Midwest Moving and Esther, who had no idea we were going to do this. You now have her office number, but you can do this. So obviously with your agency information, you can download it, print it, order it, whatever you wish as of Monday from the Stevens Shop. When you're selling this to folks, it is important to be careful how you position the sealed container. I would always make a phone call to my destination agent and say, hey, I've got Stevens Premier coming. Are you guys going to be able to deliver direct, or do you unload it at your warehouse? Because if they can deliver direct, that's a great thing. You can tell the customer, our crews are going to be there. You will see us seal the container, and at the destination, you will be able to watch us unseal the container. That's a great feature to sell, but don't sell it if you haven't verified, A, that your operations department can load direct, and B, that the delivering agent can do the same. An alternative, if your office is not able to do that, you can still invite the customer to come to your warehouse and watch the container get sealed there, or use photography in the same way. Speed is 10 to 14 days transit. That is not door to door. That is from when it is prepared and on your dock. So from the moment you have uploaded your photos and you have your weight ticket and that's uploaded, from that moment we can do 10 to 14 days. Now, we all have to use a little, I'll call it common sense. It's not really a very descriptive word, but if you're doing this right around the end of June, the end of July, make sure you touch base with your destination agent before you lock them in to something that's not going to happen. We all know that we can go, some of our offices will go a couple of weeks and be booked up. So as you're booking this up, make sure you're talking to the destination agent and you're making realistic commitments to your customer. Again, the flexibility, 14 days free storage. Price certainty, we've got 2 stars next to the words no shuttles. We are delivering this in small trucks, so by definition, that means everything should be accessible. It shouldn't be a shuttle. But be fair to your customer and to the delivering agent. Make sure that if you know it's going to a place where there's issues, check in with the destination agent. If you're going to Manhattan, if you're going to downtown Chicago, San Francisco, places you know that can be challenging. Make sure you've just done a double check. Maybe there needs to be some extra labor if it's a difficult access. Look at Google Maps, at Bing Maps. Make sure that you're being realistic. Our job as salespeople is not just to get our customer the best price, it's to get our customer the best service and the most accurate assessment of what their needs are. So please, let's be a team, let's work together and ensure that we price accordingly to give great service. This slide just shows we have an account version. You need to contact Jordan in the marketing department if you have an account opportunity, or reach out to me. Again, we've had great response. I've talked to several accounts about this, and only one of them has heard about it from a competitor. The others, this was all fresh territory. They were excited about it. They thought it made a whole lot of sense. This slide is one of the few I'm going to read to you today. I'm not usually a big reader of slides, but this is language that is at the bottom of the order estimate, order for service. This is in the tariff, going to be filed in our tariff. This is the language of what we're selling, that their cost includes transportation and delivery of their household goods in the Stevens Premier container. Each container holds a maximum of X cubic feet. Minimum inside dimensions are blah, blah, blah. And then any item which does not fit safely within that space must be excluded from the shipment. This is on the order that they will be signing. The order will also tell how many containers are included, and there will be no mention of weight on the face of their estimate. They are not paying us to move 2,300 pounds. They are paying us to move 3 containers. So this is a critical difference. I'd love to say if it fits, it ships, but it turns out the post office trademarked that for their priority mail products, so we can't use that phrase. As soon as we come up with something just as catchy, I'm sure we'll find a way to employ and trademark that ourselves. But this is the key: is when you're talking to the customers, this is our Premier program. That I don't care if it weighs 2,300 or 1,900. It's whatever we can fit in these 2 containers. And the other benefit is that the customers of loading on site is the customer sees, and if there's some iffy things and they know they've got some room, they can add to it. Or if there's a few things that they're sure they really want and they only want to pay for 2 containers, they can see clearly of, hey, we're almost done with 2 containers. They can prioritize what does or doesn't fit. Pricing, this will all be through the Stevens system. And what happens is, as you're going through to prepare your pricing on any shipment under 3,000 pounds, Tammy has programmed it to where the system will automatically determine if the destination qualifies, and if so, it will calculate the cost for either 1, 2, or 3 containers. Stevens Van Lines is not going to tell you how many containers your shipment is. We are relying on your expertise as the origin agent and booker to determine how many containers it will require to move your customer's possessions, and then we will facilitate getting it moved from your dock to their residence. But we are counting on you, and the customer's counting on you, to be certain how much volume you will require. And again, as we said earlier, your agent management fee has 2 parts. It's all enough origin revenue to facilitate everything, and then the sales and booking revenue. If you have packing, especially if you want to have unpacking a destination, highly encourage you to run that through with the normal packing grid, to where the customer knows you're packing 4 medium cartons and 6 dish packs. And then the destination agent, assume in case they want some of that unpacked, they can do the same there. Again, one last thing, the AMF, if you forget to put something in, I hope that doesn't happen, but you will have to overwrite it to get a 0 AMF. The default is $500 per container. That's what's been programmed in. So if you forget to put something in, at least you're going to get $500 a container. I have no idea if that's going to be enough. That depends on what your cost and inventory of containers is. So that's how that part of the pricing will work. So for this year, the TechMate will not be catching up to this. This is a new program. We'll be making adjustments on the fly, I'm quite sure. And rather than try to involve TechMate at this point in time, this is going to be a Stevens system only. I've talked to a few folks about this. If you are using TechMate or IGC and you're on site, there's no reason you can't go to the Stevens system. What I would do is I would open a browser tab with the Stevens system before I go into the residence and be ready to go. Use your device to do your cube sheet, and once you have your cube sheet, jump to the Stevens system, and you can go through and do the pricing at residence if you want to present a cost there, which I highly recommend. The Stevens system works really well on iPad, extremely well, and it works well on Android, other tablets. So that is still available. It's an extra step, but we need to make sure this works before we go out to our partners. I think the other information here we've already discussed earlier, but the valuation does parallel SVL M1 with the FVP, and it is for outbound shipments only. We don't have a mechanism for inbound shipments. That would be something you'd have to work with the OA to figure out what their requirements were and talk to Brittany as our Premier Coordinator. The customer is going to get a single price, and that bottom line price is going to be based on the container count you select. That's why your expertise is everything, and that's what everybody is counting on. Let's take a look at how that looks in the Stevens system. Okay, it's a qualifying shipment below 3,000 pounds. You need to enter all your normal information, because that you can also make a decision. If it's 2,500 pounds or 25, you may wish to, hey, I think I want to do this on a van shipment. My customer doesn't care. So you still want to go through and do all the normal processes to price it out. So this screen here shows that on the discount tab, you're going to drop in what your discounts are. See valuations here, and over here you're going to see there's a Stevens Premier tab. That's something new you will see as of Monday. You're going to go to this tab, and we need some questions answered by you. One is, do you use wood or corrugated containers? That's important because a wooden container weighs about 100 pounds more than a core crate. So if you're using corrugated, maybe you have to charge your customer more for the materials, but we can offer them a lower price for transporting that shipment from your warehouse to the destination agent. So that's important that we know exactly which one it's going to be and that you follow up with it. The second thing is we need to know how many crates it's going to be. That's a decision you make, and what you put in here is going to determine what is on the customer's estimate order for service and what goes into the Stevens registration system. And then finally, what is your AMF? That's not a per container. That's your overall AMF for the shipment. How much are you putting in for your agency? And that includes all aspects. Your booking, your service fees, container cost, everything needs to be in that number. So if you're an agency owner, you're going to want to make sure you're providing guidance to your employees. So from that point, if it's a qualifying shipment, it's below 3,000, our system is going to give you both options. So now we're going to go over to the preview screen, and you can see for this 2,500 pound shipment at 50%, they've gone through, it's rated out what all the different amounts are down below. And then you can see there's a tab for the Stevens Premier. This is a screen that will look quite different to you. As you can see, there are a whole bunch of lines of information. This is giving you three different options. The circles indicate this is if it's one container, if it's two containers, if it's three containers. We wanted to give you all three options, so you're going to make the decision on which one you're going to offer to your customer. To the right, you will see this breaks down internally exactly what all the breakdown of the charges are. There's the transportation, the valuation, your AMF that you've put in there. You'll see that the AMF is the same for all three because it's not a per container. And then it goes into what the destination is going to receive for the delivery out, extra labor that this particular job had, some packing and unpacking and crating, a miscellaneous charge that just got popped in there for an example. But here's the total bottom line for one container, bottom line for two, bottom line for three. You can look at this and make a decision of, you know what, it was borderline, I'm going to just tell the customer I'm going to quote them 2 containers, or you may say, you know what, 3 containers is going to work. You can go back and adjust it on the other screen. Your customer will not see this detail. Only we see it at Stevens. Okay? If you want to print the estimate order for service of Stevens Premier, you need to come in here and check the little box that says Stevens Premier Program. And that's what's going to drive if you don't check this, they're going to get it based on in-van service. If you check this box here, then they're going to be able to get the estimate order for service correctly. Here's an example of what it's going to look like. You'll see here where it's circled in red, transportation, 2 containers, 43, 43, 28, and valuation. That is the key. The customer is going to see a single price that is comprised of all the different components that you put in, that Stevens has managed, delivery, all those pieces. They get a single number. Here's what it's going to take, and here's what you get is 2 containers. As I said before, the container dimensions are here, and any item that doesn't fit needs to be excluded. highly recommend you have a discussion on this with your office. Walking around our home, there's probably 3 or 4 things in my home that would not be able to go in this program. I've got a, if you have an 8-foot sofa, it's not going to go. If you have a, 9-foot piece of wooden furniture, it's not going to go. If you have a large rug, it's not going to go. And if it's really light and bulky things, you need to be really careful in terms of how many containers you plan for the shipment. So we have just powered through a whole bunch of information, and I'm hopeful that some of you have typed in a few questions, because now we're going to let me take my breath for a moment while Katie lets us know what sort of questions have come up during the presentation.
All right, we have one here. Can you stencil the lift vans rather than use placards?
You can do that. The reason that we suggest placards is you can set it up to print. It's going to be quicker. It's a lot quicker, and therefore we think will be less expensive. If you'd rather stencil it, again, that also means somebody's got to paint over it at the other end. We recommend, just because it's simpler, you can do it on a laser printer. You can make 4 of them up for each container, and you're done in just a matter of moments, rather than creating a stencil and rolling the ink on and so forth. Good question.
We had, I'm trying to think of the questions from last time, but I think you clarified most of it when we were talking about the weight and, if it had to be the gross weight is what we're actually looking for.
Absolutely. Anybody else have any questions for us?
I'm going to go to the Houghton room. I believe it's this one. Jordan, can you hear me? Do you guys have any questions in there?
All's quiet in the Houghton room. Boy, this is a quieter group. I think it's because they don't have as much caffeine in them at this hour.
Maybe. Let me go back to the questions here. I don't see any other ones in there. Like I said before, what we'll do is we'll recap the first session's questions and these, and we'll combine them and send them out, as well as the PowerPoint for training materials.
Can we also offer, if you click on the little hand there, if you want to raise your hand if you're not in a position to type, if you want to vocally express a question, we just want to make sure we cover as many questions and concerns as possible.
Dwayne, are you, let me unmute you here. You had your hand up. Do you have a question? Oh, it looks like you typed it in. Do you accept complete liability for the shipment if you load at your warehouse?
If it's loaded at the warehouse, not at residence, then we'll use the normal liability split that we use for all crate and freight shipments today. We're doing everything we can to incentivize loading at residence, and that's why we're offering the zero liability, but that's only if loaded at residence.
Desiree, you have your hand up. I just unmuted you. Did you have a question? I see it's been raised for a little bit. I will take that as a no. That is all the hands. It looks like Dwayne has another question. And what if it originates at the warehouse?
If it originates,
yeah. So if the shipment wasn't,
if the customer is on site at your warehouse, I guess we could consider that. What we're looking at is we're looking for a situation to where from the customer's possession to that container, it happened with the customer present and it's fully sealed. So if you had a customer that for some reason was tendering at your warehouse, I suppose we could walk through that process. That would be a one-off, but it really is only the full relief of liability is really based on it's going from the customer's hands to a sealed container at one location. If it's been in storage for some time, then there's going to be questions or potential questions or potential liability for what may have happened before it got to the container.
I have Peg in here, and she's praising your answer, Roger. I'm crystal clear, shipper must be present to witness load. That's correct. Any other hand raised? Nope. I think that's it for the questions.
Okay. Well, again, this has been recorded, and it will be available on Stevens TV, as Katie said, and we will also be publishing and available Monday. I'm sure we'll get a pulse out early next week, offering you a download of the service manual, which is mostly what you've seen today, but in a printable format that you can use for training your own crews.
Great. So our safety tip for April is to make sure that you're checking the weather. I know this seems simple, but right now it's tornado and thunderstorm season, especially down in Texas and Houston area. I know they just had a big storm come through, so it's important. We want our drivers to be safe on the roads and be communicating if they're not able to get to their next stop safely and timely. So just be sure to be looking out for any storms that may be coming up. And then for upcoming events, we do have a new credit card program that we are implementing. It's actually with PayTrace. We will be getting rid of the, right now when you enter a credit card, you go through the order estimate and registration. That's actually going to be going away effective June 1st or the 10th. And again, we'll have a new credit card program. We've already done one webinar on it. We're having another one April 28th from 2 to 3. So there was an invite that went out. I'll be sure to send that invite out again with the rest of these materials here. So I know that our accounting department would really appreciate it if you guys were able to attend that. And the next event is our Agents Convention, which it's November 5th through the 8th at Paradise Point Resort and Spa in San Diego, California. So it's a great place to network with your fellow agency family. And Roger made a point last session that the sooner you get signed up for it, it won't seem like such a big hit. You know, if you register in August, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, we have to pay this all at once. But if you register early, we are able to do weekly payments and weekly vouchers to your account. So it doesn't seem like one big lump sum. And with that being said, Roger, I thank you for helping us with this Stevens Premier, and we look forward to our agents selling it.
Absolutely. Let me throw one last thing that I'm looking at my notes I failed to mention, and that is we expect to start moving shipments May 15th. The system will be available to start estimating shipments next week, so that's Monday the 25th, when I will conveniently be on vacation. We expect to start moving forward. If you have something that has to move before May 15th, we can probably accommodate it. Our anticipated is that date, but I wanted to make sure you all knew that that was the availability. Thanks, Katie.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.